Hey, welcome back. You got even more QSP. This is a QSP Hawk. This isn't one of the originals. The originals either had Damascus or S35VN, and then like a wood handle, and I don't remember what the other one is. Probably carbon fiber or something like that. These ones had just kind of come out as variants. So they have Micarta scales on them, and beloved 14C28N, which they've also had on another one that I'd taken a look at a little while ago. The leopard, and that's the one. Yeah. So yeah, this is not denim micarta like the little penguin that I looked at a while back. This is just blue micarta, but still very, very nice. They do a really fantastic job with all of their micarta, and that makes me happy. It looks super nice. Kind of has a little bit of a gradient there with the subtle contouring going on there. You got their kind of signature pivot color there going on. And yeah, we got something a little interesting here. I pointed it out on the Gannett video of the pocket clip has round screws. But looking at the Gannett, they have access to flathead screws. So why not use them over here? All right, whatever. This guy has a flipper tab and a thumb stud and works fantastically with both, which, as you know, I've been kind of critical on some companies, including Rake and Tucson, about not quite getting that right, but this is fantastic in both ways. Just deploys like a dream. So yeah, we got something interesting here is on the flats you can actually see horizontal grain pattern kind of going that way, and then you have your standard vertical grain pattern satin going on the actual grind of the blade. So hey, you get a little bit of both, which is, it just kind of looks a little bit different. I know some other companies for these flats will do stone washing. I also like that quite a bit. It just has a nice contrast there. Next up, let's see how long this guy is. Yeah, you're basically about 3 1/4 inch blade, just a little under it. And you'll kind of see this is basically like a 3.5 to 3 finger sort of knife in the standard position there, which isn't exactly my favorite because you lose a lot of that leverage from having your pinky be able to support that. But it does have some jumping up here, so you can sneak up, and that obviously gets you full grip. No problems there whatsoever. It's not my favorite way to hold a knife, but a lot of people do like it. So there you go. There's that option for you. And then, yeah, we do have a little bit of jimping going on the liner here for closing, and it is proud of the other side, so you have plenty of access to be able to close this guy up, which is quite nice. So, something that's a little bit different than what they did with the Penguin is this clip isn't actually mounted on the inside of the handle scale. It's mounted on the outside. That was something I really did like there because, it helped with dealing with excess button head screw sort of things. Not in a fantastic way, but hey, it did kind of deal with it a little bit there. So, how about if we go ahead and take this little guy apart, and hopefully it doesn't explode like what happened with the parrot that I took a look at just a little while ago. Alright, right before I pull this all apart, there is something else that I'm not super thrilled with this knife. And it's the fact that the scales are shadow boxed, so the steel kind of sits proud. Some people really, really like that. Um, I guess it kind of helps a little bit more with contour feeling moving through there on that. I generally find it a little uncomfortable because it doesn't give my thumb enough padding where it is. It just feels like I'm putting it on some magnetic rails or whatnot rather than a nice soft surface that I like to touch Micarta. So that's something that it's aesthetic, but I don't personally like. But that's doesn't really change the functionality at all. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of Loctite in here. I've cleaned it out and kind of put my own back in there. But yeah, there you go. It's nice and finely finished on both sides here. And then, of course, you get this. This is a couple of adhesive marks where they basically held these micarta scales in place while they were assembling the knife. So they're not super scratched up like the Gant was that I had shown a little while ago. And eventually, there we go. So yeah, you can see we have ceramic bearings in here and brass cages. I don't particularly think there's a difference in the way that you face these ball bearings or anything, but I do like to put the little round side on the blade side just because, I'd rather have a little bit more wear on the liner than I would on the blade there, because it makes things a little bit easier because this isn't as hardened of steel. But yeah, like the Parrot I was taking a look at a little while ago, no skeletonization happening here, which is kind of sad because this guy is kind of getting up there a little bit in price. It's a little over $50, I think, which is still less than the 80 that the original versions were in. But yeah, it's just a little bit more expensive than I would personally appreciate for not having any skeletonization going on here on the liners. But at least the fit and finish on these liners are pretty darn nice, especially if, there you go. Yeah, that wasn't scratches, those were just marks. So yeah, there we go. Something that they do on a lot of their models, they didn't on the Parrot, is their pivot screw here, which it's D-shaped, but it also fits snugly in there so that this isn't actually moving when you're trying to put the knife back together, because it's D-shaped all the way and it's also anchored in place by the scales. So putting it back together is a little bit easier than it would otherwise be. Which doesn't really affect day-to-day use, but it makes me happy. And also a little bit easier to put back together than that Parrot, because of the fact that the pivot remains in place. So there we go. I can grab the pivot back up here. I generally do like to put the pivot back in first, just to make it easier for me to close the knife up, so I'm not worried about the blade sticking out there and cutting me or anything like that. But yeah, so you got that one barrel there, and then your pocket clip actually holds on to the other barrel spacer here in the back. Some knives can have difficulty, especially if you're putting the pivot in first, of having, blade centering be off. especially on liner locks. A lot of times it will happen where it will be off, the opposite side of the liner or whatever. It just kind of looks ugly. It's usually not enough to actually rub on a liner, but it is kind of annoying. I have found for the most part, it's generally due to built up pressure in there. So if you, at that point, loosen all of your screws back up and then tighten the backs up, followed by the pivot, then you generally won't have that problem anymore. If you do, there are some, they're usually lesser quality models where you can actually create kind of a paper wedge sort of thing. So you will loosen this up and then wedge it whichever way it needs to move that blade. And then retighten everything about as tight as it'll go. Remove that and see if that fixes it, and then you can adjust the pivot tension from there. Just kind of a little tip from disassembling several hundred knives over the years. But luckily, I haven't had that much of a problem with it recently, and it happens a little less frequently with ball bearing knives anyway. So there you go. This is the QSP Hawk in 14C28N and blue micarta. It's just a little tiny bit too small for my hands, and I'm not the best fan of shadow boxed handle scales, but I still like it quite a bit. It's certainly not my favorite QSP. But it's still something quite nice for the collection here. How about if I do just a little bit of measurements here? So yeah, we got 5.4, almost 5.5, or 0.55 of an inch. 5.5 inches would be pretty crazy. And then, yeah, we got basically like right around 3 millimeter for the blade stock as well on this one. So, yeah, I do like that they keep their blade stocks on a lot of these on the thinner side. I'm not a huge fan of the 4 millimeter or larger folding knives. But, yeah, that works out pretty darn well. And I don't exactly remember if I've done the weight for this or not. So why don't we go ahead and do that now? 3.67 ounces, or 104 grams. So there you go. It's a little bit heavier than some of the others, and that's due to it not having skeletonized liners. But yeah, there you go. There's the QSP Huck for you. Neat little knife. And yeah, if you're interested, they're not super expensive. So as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.